Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm here with Melvin, friend of the channel, and I'm going to tell you straight away, you got to save his contact, all right? You know I've been selling e-commerce for almost 8 years now, and the number of times I've needed somebody like Melvin, he's the owner of Just Tech Brand Protection. He provides legal services to e-commerce sellers. I've needed Melvin before I knew him so many times. He's going to be talking about, well, essentially we want to talk about some really cool stuff that's been happening in the e-commerce space. But first, Melvin, do you mind just kind of sharing like your services that you offer and whatnot?
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Glad to be back into the channel. It's been a while. Just Tech Brand Protection, we're a private company that assists online businesses with all types of issues, specifically IP-related issues. So if you're struggling with copyright or trademark theft, or if you're being accused of copyright or trademark theft, we're able to intervene and provide a solution for you. We also assist with Amazon and Etsy account reinstatements, domain name disputes, and Amazon arbitrations. So yeah, that's effectively what we do at the moment. We have expanded our services through our law firm partners in Orlando, through which we're able to do federal court litigation now. So if you do find that your store account has been suspended due to a temporary restraining order or a preliminary injunction, we're also able to assist you in having that uplifted.
Thanks, man. And as I mentioned, like I've been in the game for a long time. You've helped me with getting some IP infringement accusations removed. So I can attest to that firsthand. And then prior to me knowing you existed, I've definitely had to hire other lawyers and stuff in the past for a, variety of things. And then, if you've been selling on, print on demand for any amount of time, you know that like you're going to get people that accuse you of whatever. And sometimes it's worth fighting. Sometimes it's not. You said account reinstating, by the way. Q4, typically right before Q4, so like I would say September and into October is like the time that Amazon goes after seller accounts. So this is like the time of year. I've dealt with this. It was probably like 5 years ago at this point, but I've dealt with this. I had a single duplicate title in my Amazon Seller Central. The penalty for a single duplicate title is a permanent suspension from Amazon. So it's insane, man. The amount of money I had to spend to fight against that, dude.
Yeah. I think what happens is during Q4, there's a lot of fake stores that tend to come up because a lot of people who have bad intentions want to take advantage of this Christmas period. So you get a lot of these fake stores. So I think Amazon tends to be a little bit hyper aggressive during this period, and it's the same thing for Etsy, Walmart, and all these other stores as well. So you are going to find that opening a store is probably going to be more difficult, but also you're going to run into more allegations of IP infringement, which, with what we're going to discuss right now is just exacerbates the issue.
Yeah, so let's roll right into the first topic. It was a great hook, by the way, great article written by you. And before we get there, actually, guys, first line in the description is Melvin's contact and his website. Just bookmark it. I use Google Keeps, so I have my notes stored online. Just make a little note that says, hey, if I'm ever in trouble, reach out to Melvin. He's accessible. So I appreciate you being here, man. The first one I wanted to bring up, though, TEMU and AliExpress content thieves report Etsy sellers for copyright infringement after stealing from them.
Yeah, it's gotten crazy. It's really gotten crazy. So I came across a few Reddit posts a few weeks ago, about a month ago, where people were complaining that they had, and this is specifically Etsy sellers, where they had created their own unique designs. They have a small team of maybe 2 or 3 people, and they've been selling their goods for maybe a few months, but their top sellers have been taken down due to copyright infringement. Again, these are the actual creators of the content who are being reported for copyright infringement. So you're probably wondering, how does that happen? Now, what happens is because of the data scraping tools that have become so accessible now, you can track what's the best performing content that's being sold or products that's being sold on platforms like Amazon or Shopify. Amazon, Shopify, Etsy, and all these other sort of online marketplaces. And what will happen is they'll copy it, they'll start selling it on AliExpress, TEMU, and all of these other different platforms. And then they will say that, hey, they're the original owners of the content, and you, Etsy seller, you're actually the fake, and they'll file a DMCA complaint against you. Now, that's usually the most mild version of what's happening. what we've also found is happening is that content thieves are now registering copyrights in content that isn't even theirs. So what they do is they steal from these Etsy sellers, and then they go to the United States Copyright Office, and then they register copyright certificates in their own name. Now, this is problematic for a number of reasons. The main reason is that once somebody gets a copyright certificate, they are the prima facie owner of that piece of content in terms of the law and in terms of what the U.S. federal government recognizes, or who the U.S. federal government recognizes as being the owner. So yeah, I think this is an incentive for people to first of all, start being more aggressive in monitoring their content and making sure that they're ahead of filing these complaints before it happens to them. And two, guys, I always say, look at your top sellers, see what content is most valuable to you, and just go to the United States Copyright Office and have it registered. It's a quick and easy process. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's about $60, for a single filing. If you need assistance, with that, we can assist you. We can also guide you as to how to maximize your value with your copyright registrations. But please get it done, because this is becoming a bigger problem. And with the holiday season coming up, we're anticipating that there's going to be a lot of lost sales due to this.
Yeah, man, that's really insightful. And it's funny, I've never really filed a copyright, so that'd be something interesting to like look into for like a future video maybe. But dude, it's crazy out there. Like I definitely have the tech background, like web developer, grew up with the internet. Like I've seen like where people will just make like synthetic identities or whatever and there's no penalty of perjury. They don't live in the United States. So they're just like, you check the box that says under penalty of perjury, I attest that this is my original work. They just click the box. They don't care. You know what I mean? And then they file a copyright claim on, Etsy or Amazon for content that they stole. And it's like, I know anybody hearing this is probably like shocked and appalled, but it's kind of like one of those things where that's just how things are in 2024, man. Like it's not even anything new.
I think you've touched on a good point there. One is a lot of the people who are committing these sort of offenses, they're not based in the United States. So when you make that when you make that statement that you're making, or that declaration that this document is being signed under penalty of perjury, who is going to effectively be brought to criminal court in the United States for perjury that's taken place on a DMCA complaint? Probably no one. So they're taking advantage of the system. They know that they're outside of the reach of the U.S. government and of the sellers themselves. It's extremely expensive to actually enforce your copyright litigiously, especially against people who are foreign participants. So what I would suggest, and what my best tips are, is, again, register your copyright in your top performing content or your top performing products. And then also just start a process of doing reverse Google image searches, maybe once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks on that content, just to see if anybody is selling it. And I understand this now from doing this for a while. Monitoring services are expensive, and it may be outside of the scope of a lot of people, outside of their budget. They may not be financially viable for them. So unfortunately, there is just going to be this, once a month activity or twice a month activity. Just go out there, do a Google image search, spend about an hour or two on it, and then obviously get back to work and make it a part of your routine. And that's pretty much the only solution, proactive solutions at least, that one can follow at this stage.
Yeah, I used to have this one viewer, and hopefully he still watches my channel's content, but he used to comment on every video. His name was John, and he would literally watch everything like a hawk and file takedowns. And he would just tell me like once a week how many takedowns he had to file. And it was just always like, it always made me happy that someone was out there like actually, fighting back. I just kind of adjusted my strategy. I kind of pivoted to like literally just selling products that like don't sell well enough that I have to worry about them being stolen, which I know sounds so silly, but like if you have enough products up that sell once a year, you can make a substantial amount of money. So I've kind of like shifted to almost like doing something like that, which is crazy, but it works.
So yeah, I mean, again, like I said, my client base is pretty much Amazon, Etsy sales, and some of them are on the platform for like 2 years, 5 years, and they just find that one product that's doing really well now. That's their sort of one successful product that they've had in that extended period of time. And immediately after that, they start to face these issues with fake copyright claims, or like you said, just widespread copyright infringement. So I think for the average seller, that's a more realistic thing, where they've only been able to achieve success with a limited amount of products. And the second that they fail to enforce their copyright or take those steps to protect it, then they could lose their best-selling content. And again, there's two issues with that. One is obviously loss of sales due to a competitor selling your product. But the other issue is that oftentimes the product that's being sold by the competitor or the counterfeiter is an inferior product. So people who may not know that they're buying a counterfeit product associate your product or your store with this inferior product, and it does start to do damage to your brand. So, which again will also lead to decreased sales. And oftentimes clients, when they start to see that their sales are decreasing and they investigate what's happened, a lot of the time it's too late to sort of fix because the problem has gotten so bad.
Yeah, great point, man. And it almost reminded me like of something in the past, like when I was selling Amazon FBA and you're kind of in the product research phase, interviewing suppliers. The amount of times that I've ran into suppliers that are selling, like if you like, let's say you need something custom, you can pay some, 10 grand or whatever more for like a custom mold to make some custom piece or custom product like at scale. And then the manufacturers often will then just like go market that product now that you just paid for the mold for. They'll market it, even if it's like patented, right? So I'll be doing product research and it's like, if you skip checking patents, which honestly Google Patents makes it like easy enough that nobody has any excuses. Like you can easily unknowingly commit patent infringement. And that kind of wheels me into the next, you sent me a couple articles on your blog. I'll link to all of them in the description. Amazon Seller's Guide to Temporary Restraining Orders and Store Suspensions. Like you may get in trouble with Amazon and you legitimately had no clue because, we might've forgot to check it. So do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is a big one. And it's actually an important one. I think, maybe at some stage we need to actually dedicate a whole video to this. So what's happening in the Northern District of Illinois is that there is an effort to be more aggressive in taking down infringing content. All right. So there's a handful of attorney firms, about 5 or 6 of them. Some of them might be known to you guys. You may have received DMC notices or letters of demand from them over the years. But what they do is they're able to get a ex parte temporary restraining order against infringing sellers. Okay. So what ex parte means is that they do not notify you of the that they're bringing this action against you. Okay. So they'll go to the Northern District of Illinois. They usually will go with like 100, 200, 300, sometimes over 1,000 defendants in one case. Okay, which is just absurd. You only see it in these cases. And yet they'll have all of these store accounts suspended. So they'll get the restraining order, and then eventually they'll get an asset forfeiture order as well, which means that whatever money that you have in your store account is frozen. You can't access it because according to the intellectual property holder, you have committed intellectual property infringement. The court recognizes and says, okay, well, for a period of 14 days, we're going to suspend the store whilst we investigate what's going on. And oftentimes that temporary restraining order becomes a preliminary injunction, and your store account can be suspended for 2 or 3 months whilst you're trying to resolve this issue. So it's becoming a bigger problem, and people are using more and more, these law firms are using more and more automated tools. So there's a number of innocent people who are actually being drawn into this litigation because there's very little oversight. They just get, domain names, store names, et cetera, list them as a defendant, and then next thing you know, your store account is suspended. So it's definitely something that people need to be aware of, that they can get these orders ex parte. That means they don't need to notify you. And if they do, then you need to contact those attorneys immediately to try to stop the temporary restraining order from becoming a preliminary injunction, or even worse, having default judgment being granted against you because you failed to defend the matter.
And does this sometimes extend beyond like I always think of like the centralization and the ability, like that gives them the ability to like kind of enforce things at scale. Like, so is it beyond just like Amazon and Etsy? Like, does it sometimes go, you said domains. So does that imply like they might go to like GoDaddy and have like your domain blocked, or Shopify and have your store? Like, is it something like that?
Yeah, yes. So they can go as far as I'm not sure about GoDaddy, but definitely Shopify. Shopify stores get taken out all the time on the same basis. So right now it's mainly focused on eBay, Walmart, Amazon, Etsy, and Shopify. So yeah, so they're able to come in, they're able to suspend your stores. The other thing is, your PayPal account, even if you have a US bank account, even if you are living outside of the United States, but you have a US bank account for business purposes, all of that can be frozen and seized whilst you try to resolve this issue. Now, one of the reasons why this has been so successful is because getting access to an attorney in Illinois is quite difficult. And this is a federal court matter. So before you can actually get in the door, you're going to have to pay a deposit of between $5,000 to $7,500 just for that attorney to go on record and start the settlement negotiation process. So you'll see that very few of these matters are actually defended, and yeah, they're effectively getting default judgments against 200 or 300 people. So we always say the first thing to do is go out to Illinois, try to find somebody who can assist you if it's within your budget. If it's outside of your budget, we obviously assist with settlement negotiations if there is an issue. And if it becomes litigious, obviously through our partner firm in Orlando, we're able to go on record and defend the matter, should you so desire.
Awesome. That's like I said, man, you got to save Melvin's contact. hopefully you don't need it, right? But in case you do.
Yeah, hopefully you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we were able to get that the last Etsy issue I had. Somebody said I committed IP infringement. We got that resolved in like a few days, so that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's always difficult because at the end of the day, I think as we were discussing off camera, a lot of these notices are going to go to somebody who's effectively a call center operative, who's probably working on a form or something like that. Again, I'm just speculating. It's a hypothesis. We don't know for sure what happens behind the curtain. But yeah, chances are it's somebody who has limited knowledge. They're just looking at two images. They see that they're the same, and based on that, they the content will be taken down. On top of that, I think I mentioned this in our first interview, but Amazon and all of these stores can't really get involved in the dispute. Legally, they can't be seen as buyers. So if it's two matching pieces of content, they effectively have to take it down if they receive a notice that's compliant. They're not allowed to adjudicate the dispute because there may be grounds to actually sue them for acting in a way that's in contravention of their requirements in terms of the DMCA. So there's some limitations on what they can and can't do as well.
Yeah. Plus, I'm going to imagine they don't have a financial incentive to get like that involved either. So they're just like,
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll let you guys resolve it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You had sent a third article, the last one. Amazon takes action against false trademark holders. Now, what is a false trademark? That got my attention.
All right. Yeah. So this is the third article, and this actually got quite serious. And it's also interesting because Amazon themselves don't usually get involved in these IP issues. Just some background context. Amazon is a marketplace, and they try to be as neutral as possible. But it seems like the problem has become so bad that they've actually had to get involved now. In this case, which is actually quite insane, there was a, and this is again, none of this has been confirmed yet. These are all allegations in a complaint that I've seen from Amazon's side, so it can still be challenged. I haven't seen the answer yet, but effectively, it involves an attorney who's based in Japan, okay, who started registering thousands of trademark applications for one company, for a Chinese company, and a lot of these trademarks were completely false. So what they would do is they would open an account on AliExpress or Alibaba. They would say, hey, this is my, I'm selling under this trademark. Please register it or apply for it. they would take that application and get a that USPTO application or the trademark application. They would use it to get into the brand registry program, and they would use that brand registry program to then take down all of these legitimate
Dude,
sellers.
I've gotten so many takedowns from, like, I don't get that many, but like, you know, anybody that's been subscribed knows I have hundreds of thousands of products. So it's like,
Yeah.
I get takedowns. It's not like something that, it's not rare.
Yeah.
And if you scroll to the bottom of the email, the amount of times I see .jp, Amazon.jp. So I wonder if it's that guy, dude. And then there was another funny one. It was like out of Spain, and it was some dude who rigged a trademark on Ethereum, basically. You know what I mean? Who hasn't listed an Ethereum crypto themed product? Get out of here. Come on now. So of course, all of my Ethereum products are gone. Anyway, sorry to cut you off, but
no. I mean, it just speaks to that point of, so they were getting into the brand registry program, and I'm sure for anybody who sells on Amazon is familiar with the brand registry program. But effectively, yeah, using that amplified sort of protection that they have through the program in order to take down legitimate sellers. On the basis that they themselves, you know, were infringing, but they weren't really infringing. And they filed thousands of these notices. So now Amazon themselves actually stepped in and said, you know, they conducted their own investigation. Amazon does have its own counterfeit unit. So this is just something to be aware of for everybody out there, is that, you know, they do take these allegations quite seriously. They do actually conduct their own investigations. That counterfeit unit does actually work with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and other federal departments in order to combat you know, these types of crimes around IP theft and counterfeiting. And now they've taken this proactive step to actually go after this attorney who I think has been disbarred or is in the process of being disbarred, who effectively just gave his details to this company and allowed them to basically do whatever they wanted. Just on that note, one of the reasons why they had to use an attorney is because in terms from 2019, all foreign sellers or sellers outside of the United States, so people who don't have a US Social Security number, they are required to use a licensed attorney or a US licensed attorney to file a trademark application. So again, with them being this Chinese company, they used this attorney, and then they just started filing all these applications. And yeah, again, they started filing all of these false trademark notices. So you mentioned you get quite a few of these as well.
Dude, I mean, they get flagged because now that Amazon's using more automated systems to scan. I'm using this one software. People have heard me talk about it called POD Automatic that creates 200 products in my account every day automatically using AI. At least like 3 of them get removed every day. But like products that I've created, I'm telling you, man, the amount of times I've seen .jp, because I'll be like, why did this get removed? This makes no sense. Amazon.jp, like Amazon Japan. I'm wondering if that's what it was, dude.
It might be, but yeah, I think they've started taking action now to have it removed. But you know, they're not the only company that's doing this, sadly. And yeah, there are more and more companies which are doing this. And you know, the intention, obviously, you know, from us educating your viewers is not to put you off, especially if you're starting up as a seller. This is more for people in the intermediate to sort of expert level of selling. It's just make them aware that, you know, these things are happening. And for some reason, there's this almost a presumption of guilt that people feel when they receive these notices, where you know, just because they've been accused of trademark violation or copyright violation, they feel that, all right, they're on the back foot, they've done something wrong, and that almost acts as an impediment to them actually defending themselves or acting more aggressively. So, you know, the idea here now is to let you know that you might not have actually done something wrong. You know, either intentionally or unintentionally, you might not have done something wrong at all. But you've just been sucked into either a process that's unlawful or a lawful process that hasn't taken proper account of what's actually gone on, or you might just be a part of a giant scam. You know what I mean? So there's a lot happening now in this space, and people just need to start being aware of it if they fall victim to it. And I you know, sadly, I can say that if you're at a certain level, if you've been doing this for a few years, you're probably going to find yourself at some stage sucked into something like this.
Yep, I can attest to that. But yeah, just I guess don't be too scared off, and then also it helps to have somebody you can reach out to in Melbourne. So, was there anything else that I mean, this was extremely insightful, by the way. I do hope that everybody that's still watching can at least drop a comment, just thank Melvin for being here, because like we don't get to hear this side of things, or at least hear it from kind of an authoritative figure that can speak to it intelligently. Like I would just be reading your articles if I tried to speak to this stuff, whereas you're actually here in person to, in person semi, right? But to speak to it and really give us the, the insights that we want to know.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. Again, a lot of this information is based on research that I've done, but it's also just through the amount of stories that I hear, just through my consultations, through me engaging with existing clients, new clients. So I'm not detached from what's happening in this space. I'm very much involved in it. My client base is mainly Amazon and Etsy sellers, and has been for the past 6 years that we've been doing this. So we're always happy just to chat as well. Drop me an email. I'm happy to just have a conversation with you. I've just as a note, I've had to stop giving my cell phone number out now. A lot of people kind of take advantage of that. So yeah, if people do contact me and ask for my cell phone number, please note I'm no longer giving that out. But I am happy to communicate via email, or you can call my office phone or anything like that.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's all gonna be linked up in the description. Save his contact. Melvin, it's been great, man, having you here. Appreciate it. A lot of interesting articles. They're all gonna be linked in the description as well. Anything else we need to know before we go?
No, nothing at all. Again, the main thrust of our business is to assist people with IP issues. We've expanded to some litigation work, especially in the IP space. We want you guys to be able to contact us if you have any issues. But I also just want to say, Ryan, thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here. It's nice to actually just see and speak to you again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to making this a more frequent occurrence.
For sure, man. For sure. And yeah, keep sending me those articles. They were great. All right. He's Melvin from Just Tech Brand Protection. Everything's in the description. Thank you so much for being here, Melvin. And we'll see you guys later.